The deep space around Kepler 442 was quiet and cold. Stars dotted the black sky like tiny diamonds. Nothing had moved through this area for many years. The system was empty except for a few dead planets and floating rocks. Then something changed. Space itself seemed to bend and twist. A bright flash lit up the darkness. When the light faded, 23 massive ships hung in the void. They were sleek and silver, each one the size of a small city. Strange symbols glowed along their hulls. In blue and purple light, Admiral Thexval stood on the bridge of his flagship. His skin was gray and scaly, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red in the dark. He had conquered 47 star systems for the Velkari Dominion. This would be number 48. "Report," he said in his deep voice. His second-in-command, a smaller Velkari with green markings, looked at his screens. "We have arrived at the target coordinates, Admiral. Scanning the system now." The bridge was filled with clicking sounds as his crew worked at their stations. The Velkari had been exploring this part of space for months. Their scouts had reported signs of a primitive species somewhere in this area. Today they would find them and add another world to their empire. "Admiral," called the scanner operator, "I'm picking up something strange. There's a ship out there." Thexval moved to the main screen. His 4 eyes focused on what appeared to be a small vessel drifting near the 4th planet. It looked old and damaged. Parts of its hull seemed to be missing. Smoke drifted from several sections. "Is it functional?" he asked. "Barely, sir. It appears to be running on minimal power. The design is primitive. I've never seen anything like it." Thexval smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. This was going to be easier than he thought. The ship looked like it was held together with metal plates and hope. His fleet could destroy it with a single shot. "What species?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. But based on the ship's construction and energy signatures, they appear to be at an early stage of space travel. Probably just figured out how to leave. Their home planet." The other Velkari on the bridge laughed. They had seen this many times before. Young species always tried to explore space before they were ready. Most of them barely made it past their own solar system before the Dominion found them. Thexval studied the human ship more carefully. It was much smaller than his smallest escort vessel. The hull was a dull gray color with strange markings painted on the side, letters that said UES Indomitable in white paint. Below that were more symbols he didn't recognize. "How many life forms aboard?" he asked. "Scanning now, sir. I'm reading approximately 3,000 beings. They appear to be carbon-based, similar to many species we've encountered. 3,000. Thexval's flagship alone carried 20,000 warriors. His entire fleet had over 500,000. This would not even be a fight." "Admiral," said his communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the vessel. Put it through." The main screen changed to show the bridge of the human ship. Thexval saw a strange creature sitting in what appeared to be a command chair. The being had pale skin, dark hair, and only 2 arms. It wore a blue uniform with metal symbols on the chest. "This is Captain Hyunwoo Kim of the United Earth ship Indomitable," the human said. His voice was calm and steady. "We are on a peaceful exploration mission. Please identify yourself." Thexval laughed. The creature looked so small and weak. Its ship was falling apart, and it was asking him to identify himself. "I am Admiral Thexval of the Velkari Dominion, 47th Expansion Fleet," he announced. "You have entered space claimed by the Dominion. Your species is now under our protection. Captain." Kim's face didn't change. He looked directly at the screen with dark eyes that seemed to see everything. "We don't recognize any claims to this system. We are here by right of peaceful exploration." Rights? Thexval's voice became cold. You speak of rights? Look around. You, human. My fleet could turn your ship into space dust in seconds. You have no rights here except those I choose to give you. On the human ship's bridge, Thexval could see other crew members working at their stations. They all looked calm, as if they weren't facing a fleet that could destroy them. Either they were very brave or very stupid. Captain Kim, Thexval continued, I will make this simple for you. You have 1 solar hour to prepare your ship for boarding. Your crew will surrender peacefully. Any resistance will be met with force. Your people will be relocated to worlds where they can be properly supervised and educated. Kim leaned back in his chair. And if we refuse, then you will join the many other species who made the same mistake. Thexval gestured to his weapons. Officer. We have more than enough firepower to destroy your ship and hunt down any others of your kind. This is not a negotiation, human. This is conquest. The transmission ended. Thexval turned to his crew. Begin standard pacification protocols, prepare boarding parties, and scan the system for any other human vessels. Where there's one, there are usually more. His second-in-command nodded. How should we handle them, Admiral? Standard slavery. Protocols. No, Thexval said thoughtfully. These humans might be useful. They managed to build a ship and reach deep space. With proper training, they could serve as technicians or miners. Keep casualties to a minimum during the boarding. Around the bridge, his crew began preparing for what they expected to be a very short battle. The human ship continued to drift in space, apparently helpless. Some sections still leaked atmosphere into the void. Thexval looked at the tactical display showing his fleet's position. 23 ships in perfect formation, each one a masterpiece of Velkari engineering. Weapons that could crack planets. Shields that could stop any attack, armies of trained warriors ready for battle, against 1 damaged human ship with 3,000 crew members. He almost felt sorry for them. The humans probably didn't even understand what was about to happen. They were like children playing with toys, not knowing that real adults had arrived. In 1 hour, this system would belong to the Velkari Dominion. The humans would learn their place in the galaxy, and Admiral Thexval would add another victory to his long list of conquests. He had no idea that everything he believed was about to change forever. On the bridge of the UES Indomitable, Captain Hyunwoo Kim ended the transmission with the alien admiral. The main screen went dark, showing only the stars and the massive enemy fleet hanging in space like sleeping giants. Well, that went about, as expected, Kim said quietly. Lieutenant Commander So-Young Park looked up from her communications station. She was a small woman with short black hair and quick eyes that missed nothing. Captain, I finished analyzing their transmission. Protocols. They broadcast in 47 different languages, including some we've never heard before. 47, Kim repeated. That suggests they've conquered at least that many species. Park nodded. Their message was identical in each language. Standard conquest demands. Surrender, submit, or die. They've done this many times before. Kim stood up and walked to the main view screen. The alien ships were beautiful in their own way, sleek curves and glowing symbols. But he knew what they represented. Pain and slavery for anyone unlucky enough to meet them. What's our status report? He asked. Chief Engineer Dong-Hyun Lee turned from his station at the back of the bridge. He was a big man with steady hands and a calm voice. All systems running at optimal levels, Captain. The damage simulation is working perfectly. They think we're barely functional. Kim smiled slightly. The Indomitable looked like a wreck from the outside. Hull plates hung loose. Fake atmosphere leaks created trails of vapor in space. Lights flickered on and off. To any scanner, they appeared to be a ship on the edge of total breakdown. In reality, the Indomitable was one of the most advanced vessels ever built by human engineers. Every system had been designed with one purpose: to be underestimated by potential enemies. Commander. Choi, what's your tactical assessment? Kim asked. Commander Ji-hoon Choi was studying his screens with intense focus. He had been tracking military movements across the galaxy for 3 years, preparing for this moment. 23 capital ships, Captain, each one approximately 2 kilometers long. I'm reading heavy weapons, energy shields, and what appears to be boarding craft. Standard formation suggests they expect no resistance. How long until their deadline? Kim asked. 52 minutes and counting, So Young reported. Kim walked back to his command chair but didn't sit down. Around the bridge, his crew worked quietly at their stations. He had served with most of these people for over 5 years. They had trained together, studied together, and prepared for this day together. Medical, are you ready? He asked. Doctor. Ye-Jin Han looked up from her station near the back of the bridge. She was monitoring the crew's vital signs and stress levels. All medical teams are standing by, Captain. Injury protocols are active. Kim nodded. Weapon status? All systems ready and waiting for your command, replied Weapons Officer Tae-hyun. Nam. He was a quiet man who spoke little but could calculate firing solutions faster than most computers. The railgun batteries are charged and targeted. Nanite swarms are prepared for deployment. Navigation. Navigation Officer Haya Wan-song turned from her controls. She was young but had the best spatial awareness Kim had ever seen. Gravity manipulation. Systems online, Captain. We can move anywhere in this system within seconds. Kim finally sat down. Any word from command? So Young checked her long-range communications. Admiral Chen confirms that all other ships are in position, Captain. We are authorized to proceed with First Contact Protocol 7. First Contact Protocol 7. Kim had hoped they would never need to use it. It was designed for exactly this situation. When humanity encountered a hostile alien species that demanded surrender. The protocol was simple. Show them why that was a mistake. Captain, Choi said, the enemy fleet is moving into attack formation. 3 ships are breaking off from the main group. They appear to be preparing for what they consider a simple boarding action. Kim watched the tactical display as 3 alien vessels moved closer to the Indomitable. Each ship was 5 times larger than his own vessel. Their weapons were powering up, but only to minimal levels. They really did think this would be easy. Open. A channel to the entire ship, Kim ordered. So Young worked at her controls. Channel open, Captain. Kim pressed a button on his chair. His voice would now reach every person on the ship. All hands. This is the captain. In 45 minutes, we will make first contact with a hostile alien species. They have demanded our surrender. They believe we are primitive and weak. They are about to learn otherwise. He paused, looking around the bridge at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his words. For the past 10 years, humanity has been preparing for this moment. We have built ships they cannot imagine. We have developed weapons they have never seen. We have trained for battles they cannot understand. Today, we show the galaxy what humans are capable of. Another pause. On his tactical screen, the alien ships continued their approach. We are not the first species these aliens have conquered, but we will be the last. When this is over, they will carry a message back to their empire. They will tell their leaders that humanity is not prey. We are predators, and today we hunt. He closed the channel. Around the bridge, his crew returned to their work with renewed focus. They had trained for years for this moment. Every simulation, every drill, every late-night planning session had led to this. "Captain," So-Young said, "we're receiving another transmission from the alien flagship. Let's hear what they have to say." The screen showed Admiral Thexval again. This time he looked slightly annoyed. "Captain Kim, you have 30 minutes remaining. I strongly advise you to begin surrender preparations immediately. My warriors are eager to board your vessel. Do not test their patience." Kim looked directly at the camera. "Admiral, I have a counter-proposal for you." "You are not in a position to make proposals, human." "Leave this system immediately," Kim continued calmly. "Take your fleet and go back where you came from. Do not return. Do not attempt to contact or conquer any human worlds. This is your only warning." Thexval's 4 eyes widened in surprise. Then he began to laugh. The sound was harsh and bitter. "You warn me? You and your broken ship warn an entire fleet? Are all humans this foolish?" "You'll find out," Kim said simply. "Very well, you have chosen destruction over surrender. When your ship is debris and your crew is dead, remember that you could have lived as our servants." The transmission ended. Kim turned to his crew. "All stations prepare for combat. Let's show them what humans do to bullies." Admiral Thexval stood on his bridge, watching the countdown timer reach 0. The human ship still drifted in space, looking as damaged as before. No surrender signal had been received, no white flags or distress calls. The humans, apparently, preferred to die rather than submit. "Very well," he said to his weapons officer. "Begin with minimal force. 1 cruiser, warning shots only. These primitives need to understand what they're facing." The VDS Conquest, a sleek warship half the size of the flagship, moved forward from the fleet formation, its weapons powered up with a low humming sound that traveled through the hulls of nearby ships. Blue energy crackled along its forward cannons. On the Indomitable's bridge, Commander Ji-Hoon Choi watched his tactical displays light up with new information. "Captain, 1 enemy vessel approaching. I'm reading 17 separate targeting systems locking onto our position. They're powering weapons but keeping them at low setting." Captain Kim nodded. "They want to scare us first. Show us their power before they destroy us." "The approaching ship is transmitting," reported So-Young. "They're demanding we prepare to be boarded." Kim looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. Everyone knew their role. "Signal all stations. Begin Phase 1. So-Young's fingers moved across her control panel. Throughout the ship, a special signal reached every department. The crew had trained for this moment for years. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans were capable of. "Open a channel to the enemy ship," Kim ordered. The screen showed the bridge of the Valkyrie cruiser. The alien captain had the same. Gray skin and red eyes as the admiral, but with silver markings on his uniform. "Human vessel," the alien said. "This is Captain Vextar of the Conquest. You will drop your shields and prepare for boarding. Any resistance will result in your immediate destruction." Kim stood up slowly. "Captain Vextar, I have something to share with you and your fleet. Consider it a gift from humanity." Before the alien could respond, Kim nodded to his communications officer. So-Young activated a special transmission system that had been built into the Indomitable's communication array. Suddenly, music began to play across every frequency in the local area, not just to the human ship, but to every vessel in the alien fleet. The sound was beautiful and complex, with instruments the Valkyrie had never heard before. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony filled the space around Kepler 442. On the alien ships, the music confused and disturbed the crews. Some thought it was a primitive war cry. Others believed it was a death song. None of them understood that humans used music to focus their minds and calm their hearts before battle. "What is this noise?" demanded Captain Vextar. "That," Kim said with a small smile, "is what we play when we're about to ruin someone's day." The alien captain snarled. "Enough games! All weapons! Fire warning shots!" The Conquest's forward cannons fired blue bolts of energy toward the Indomitable. The shots were meant to pass close to the human ship without hitting it, a display of power designed to terrify the primitive humans into surrender. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy bolts struck what appeared to be empty space around the Indomitable and dissolved into nothing. Ripples of golden light spread outward from the impact points like waves on a pond. "What?" Vexitar stared at his screens in confusion. "Report! What happened to our shots?" His weapons officer checked his instruments frantically. "Sir, the energy was absorbed by some kind of defensive field, but our scanners show no shields around their vessel." On the human ship, Navigation Officer Hai Wan Song made small adjustments to her controls. "Gravity field manipulation holding steady, Captain. Their weapons fire was redirected into subspace." Kim nodded. The aliens thought they were looking at a primitive ship with damaged hull plates and failing systems. They had no idea they were facing technology that could bend space itself. "Captain," called Weapons Officer Tae-Hyun Nam, "they're powering up for a second salvo, this time at full strength." "Let them," Kim replied. "Medical, are you ready?" Dr. Yejin Han checked her monitors. "All trauma teams standing by. Emergency protocols active." The Conquest fired again, this time with enough energy to crack a small moon. 12 massive energy beams lanced toward the Indomitable at nearly the speed of light. Again, the shots vanished into ripples of golden light around the human ship. But this time, something else happened. The damaged hull plates on the Indomitable began to move. What the aliens had thought were signs of battle damage were actually advanced armor systems. The plates folded back like flower petals, revealing the ship's true nature. Sleek weapon ports opened along the hull. Sensor arrays emerged from hidden compartments. The flickering lights became steady and bright. In seconds, the Indomitable transformed from a wreck into something that looked like it belonged in a nightmare. "Impossible," breathed Admiral Thexavel from his flagship. "What are we looking at?" His tactical officer was checking and rechecking his sensors. "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the human vessel. Weapon systems I don't recognize. Their power output just increased by 3,000%. On the Indomitable, Captain Kim sat back down in his command chair. Beethoven's symphony continued to play across all frequencies, the music building toward its powerful climax. "All stations report ready, Captain," announced Commander Choi. Kim looked at the image of Captain Vextar on his screen. The aliens' red eyes were wide with shock and growing fear. "Captain Vextar," Kim said calmly, "thank you for the warning shots. Now let me show you how humans respond to threats." He turned to his weapons officer. "Mr. Nam, if you please." Tae-Hyun Nam smiled and pressed a single button on his control panel. The space around the Valkyrie cruiser Conquest suddenly filled with streaks of silver light. The Indomitable's railgun batteries had fired their first salvo. Each projectile was no bigger than a coffee cup, but it traveled at 15% of the speed of light. The kinetic energy in each shot was enough to level a city. The Conquest's shields flared bright blue as they tried to stop the incoming projectiles. The energy barriers held for almost 2 seconds. Then they collapsed like broken glass. The railgun. Slugs struck the cruiser's hull with devastating force. Armor that could stop plasma beams and particle weapons crumpled like paper. The ship's elegant curves became twisted metal and escaping atmosphere. "Impossible," Vextar whispered as his bridge shook around him. "Nothing can penetrate Velkari. Shields that easily." Kim leaned forward in his chair. "Captain, you're about to learn something important about humans. We don't build ships to look pretty. We build them to win." The Conquest tried to retreat, its engines flaring as it attempted to put distance between itself and the human vessel. But the Indomitable was no longer the slow, damaged ship it had appeared to be. Haiwan Song activated the gravity manipulation, systems at full power. Space-time twisted around the human ship. In an instant, the Indomitable moved from its original position to directly beside the fleeing cruiser. The aliens never saw it coming. The Indomitable appeared beside the Velkari cruiser like a ghost, materializing from thin air. One moment there was empty space. The next moment, death had arrived. "Show them why humans don't surrender," Captain Kim said quietly. The transformation of his ship was now complete. Gone was the damaged, helpless vessel the aliens had first seen. In its place was a predator designed for one purpose: to hunt and destroy anything that threatened humanity. Weapons Officer Tae-Hyun Nam worked at his controls with deadly precision. "All railgun batteries locked on target. Nanite swarm launchers ready. Plasma cutters standing by." "Fire!" Kim ordered. The Indomitable unleashed hell. Railgun slugs, traveling at impossible speeds, punched through the Conquest's hull like bullets through paper. Each impact sent shockwaves through the alien ship's structure. Metal twisted and broke. Atmosphere vented into space in great clouds of frozen vapor. But the railguns were just the beginning. From ports along the Indomitable's hull, clouds of microscopic machines poured forth. To the naked eye, they looked like glittering dust. But each particle was a nanite programmed with one simple instruction: convert enemy ship material into more weapons. The nanite swarms struck the Conquest's hull and immediately began their work. Alien armor plating dissolved and reformed into human weapon systems. The cruiser's own metal became ammunition for the railguns that were destroying it. Captain Vextar watched in horror as his ship was eaten alive. "Engineering! Report!" His chief engineer's voice crackled over the communication system. "Sir, something is converting our hull into weapons. I've never seen anything like it. The conversion rate is accelerating. We have maybe 5 minutes before structural failure." On the Indomitable's bridge, Navigation Officer Haiwan Song was performing maneuvers that defied everything the Velkari thought they knew about space combat. Using the ship's gravity manipulation system, she made the human vessel dance around, the larger cruiser like a fighter plane circling a bomber. The aliens tried to track the Indomitable with their weapons, but it was impossible. The human ship would be in front of them, then beside them, then behind them, all in the space of seconds. Their targeting computers couldn't keep up. "Captain," Commander Ji-Hoon Choi reported, "the enemy flagship is moving to assist. Admiral Thexaval is bringing his entire fleet into attack formation." Kim looked at the tactical display. 22 remaining Velkari ships were arranging themselves in a battle line. Each one was massive, bristling with weapons, and crewed by thousands of warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds. Good, Kim said. The more the merrier. Dr. Yejin Han looked up from her medical station. Captain, should I prepare for heavy casualties? Kim shook his head. Doctor, we're not going to take casualties. We're going to give them. On the view screen, Admiral Thexval's face appeared. The alien commander's red eyes blazed with fury and something else. The first hint of fear. What are you? He demanded. What kind of species builds ships like this? Kim stood up and walked closer to the screen. Behind him, his crew continued their deadly work. The Conquest was now more human weapon than Velkari's ship, its converted hull bristling with railgun barrels that were firing at the approaching fleet. We're human, Kim said simply. We're the species that never learned how to give up. Impossible, Thexval snarled. Your technology is primitive. Our scouts confirmed it. You barely achieved spaceflight. Kim smiled, and for the first time, it wasn't a pleasant expression. Admiral, what do you think we've been doing for the last 50 years while your scouts were watching us? We've been learning, studying, preparing. On the tactical display, the Velkari fleet opened fire with everything they had. Hundreds of energy beams lanced toward the Indomitable from every direction. The space around the human ship lit up like a small star as the alien weapons unleashed their fury. Hai Wan Song's fingers danced across her controls. Gravity field at maximum, redirecting all incoming fire. The massive energy bombardment struck. The invisible gravity fields around the Indomitable and scattered like light through a prism. Some shots were absorbed completely. Others were redirected back toward the ships that fired them. The aliens found themselves shooting at each other while their target remained untouched. How? Thexval whispered. We watched your empire expand. Across the galaxy, Kim continued. We studied every battle, every conquest, every species you destroyed. We learned how you fight. We learned how you think. And we built ships specifically designed to kill yours. Chief Engineer Dong Hyun Lee called out from his station. Captain, all systems running at optimal efficiency. The nanite swarms have converted 60% of the enemy cruiser. Shall we deploy them against the main fleet? Not yet, Kim replied. Let's show them our other toys first. He turned to his weapons officer. Mr. Nam, activate the plasma. Cutters. New weapons emerged from the Indomitable's hull. These weren't the crude energy weapons the Velkari used. Human plasma cutters created streams of matter so hot they could slice through the core of a planet. The beams were invisible until they hit their targets. 3 Velkari destroyers simply came apart as the plasma cutters swept across them. Their hulls separated along perfect lines, spilling crew and atmosphere into the void. The aliens had never seen weapons that could cut through their best armor like it was air. Fleet withdraw, Thexval ordered desperately. All ships fall back to maximum range, but the human ship followed them. No matter how fast the Velkari vessels moved, the Indomitable was faster. It appeared and disappeared around the fleet like a shark circling wounded fish. Security Chief Yoon-ji Yoon looked up from her station. Captain, should we prepare boarding parties? Kim considered this. Not yet. Let's thin out their numbers first. The space battle had become a slaughter. Velkari ships that had conquered entire star systems were being destroyed by a single human vessel. Their weapons couldn't penetrate its defenses. Their sensors couldn't track its movements. Their tactics were useless against an enemy that fought unlike anything they had ever encountered. Throughout it all, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony continued to play on all frequencies. The beautiful music provided a soundtrack to the destruction of an empire's fleet. Admiral, called one of Thexval's officers. "We've lost 8 ships. The remaining vessels are reporting massive damage. What are your orders?" Thexval stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His invincible fleet was being torn apart by creatures he had dismissed as primitives. Ships that had bombarded planets were running like frightened animals. "Human!" he shouted at the screen. "What do you want? Tribute? Territory? Slaves? Name your price!" Captain Kim's voice was calm when he replied. "We want you to leave. Take whatever ships you have left and go home. Tell your empire what happened here. Tell them that humanity is not prey. And if we refuse?" Kim gestured to the tactical display showing the burning wrecks of Velkari warships. "Then you can join your friends out there." For the first time in his long career of conquest, Admiral Thexval faced an enemy he couldn't defeat. An enemy that had turned his greatest strength into weakness. An enemy that had been preparing for this moment while he thought they were helpless. The humans had played a game of patience that lasted decades, and now they were collecting their prize. The battle reached a new level of horror for the Velkari fleet. What had begun as a simple conquest was now a nightmare beyond their worst fears. Admiral Thexval watched his tactical displays with growing terror as more ships fell to the human vessel. The Indomitable had become something from their darkest legends. It moved through space like a living thing, striking where they were weakest and vanishing before they could respond. Every weapon they fired missed its target. Every strategy they tried failed. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "the humans are deploying something new." On the main screen, they watched as the Indomitable released what looked like streams of silver smoke. The clouds spread quickly through space, moving toward the Velkari ships with purpose and intelligence. Chief Tactical Analyst Minho Kong coordinated the attack from his station on the human ship. He was a thin man with quick eyes who could see patterns in battle that others missed. His job was to find the best ways to destroy enemy vessels. "Nanite swarms deployed and active," he reported to Captain Kim. "Target priority, enemy weapons and engines. Conversion efficiency at 87%. The silver clouds reached the first Velkari destroyer and began their work immediately. The aliens watched in horror as their ship's hull began to change. Metal plating dissolved and reformed. Weapon ports closed and new ones opened. Within minutes, their own ship was firing at them. "What is happening?" screamed the destroyers. Captain over the communication channel. "Our weapons are turning on us." The nanites were doing exactly what they were programmed to do. They converted enemy material into human technology. Every piece of alien metal became part of humanity's arsenal. The Velkari were literally being defeated by their own ships. But the nanites were just one part of the human arsenal. Security Chief Yoonji Yoon had been watching the battle with growing excitement. She commanded the ship's boarding teams, and she was eager to show the aliens what human soldiers could do. "Captain," she said, "request permission to deploy boarding parties." Kim looked at the tactical situation. Several Velkari ships were disabled but still intact. Their crews were alive but trapped aboard vessels that were slowly being converted. "By nanites. Permission granted," he said. "Show them how humans fight up close." Yoonji smiled. She was a small woman but deadly in combat. Her teams had trained for years to fight in the cramped corridors of enemy ships. They knew every weakness of Velkari armor and weapons. Boarding teams Alpha through Delta prepare for insertion, she announced over the ship's communication system. What happened next terrified the aliens more than anything they had seen so far. The Indomitable didn't launch shuttles or boarding pods like normal species. Instead, Teams of human soldiers simply appeared inside their ships. Personal teleportation technology allowed the humans to bypass shields, armor, and locked doors. One moment, a Velkari corridor was empty. The next moment, it was full of armed humans in advanced combat suits. The first boarding team materialized on the bridge of the destroyer VDS Retribution. The Velkari bridge crew stared in shock as 12 humans appeared in flashes of blue light. Before the aliens could reach their weapons, the humans had them surrounded. "Nobody move," said team leader Park Sung-ho. His voice came through speakers in his helmet, translated into perfect Velkari. "We're not here to kill you unless you make us." The Velkari captain, a large alien with dark gray skin, reached for his sidearm. Park's weapon fired once. The alien's gun dissolved in his hand, eaten away by a cloud of micro-nanites. "That was your warning," Park said calmly. "The next shot won't be so gentle." Similar scenes played out across 6 different Velkari ships. Human boarding teams appeared wherever. They were needed moving through alien vessels like ghosts. The Velkari had never faced an enemy that could appear anywhere at any time. On the flagship, Admiral Thexval received reports from his remaining ship captains. Each report was worse than the last. "Sir, they're inside the Retribution. Boarding. Teams have taken the bridge. Admiral, the destroyer Vengeance is under human control. They're using our own weapons against us." "Fleet Command. This is the cruiser Domination. We have humans aboard. They're converting our systems from the inside." Thexval looked at his own bridge crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. That could save them. But what orders could he give against an enemy like this? "How?" he whispered. "How do they move through our ships without using transport beams?" His science officer checked his instruments frantically. "Sir, I'm detecting some kind of quantum displacement technology. They're moving through folded space. Our shields and armor can't stop them because they're not actually traveling through normal space." On the Indomitable, Captain Kim was receiving status reports from his boarding teams. The operation was going exactly as planned. Human soldiers were taking control of enemy vessels without having to destroy them completely. "Captain," reported Yunji, "all boarding teams have secured their targets. We control 6 enemy vessels and their crews are under guard." "Casualties?" Kim asked. "None on our side. 17 alien wounded, no deaths. They're receiving medical treatment." Kim nodded. This was important. Humans didn't want to be seen as monsters. They wanted to be feared, yes, but also respected. A species that killed prisoners would face endless resistance. A species that showed mercy would be obeyed. Engineering specialist Sung-Min Oh looked up from his station. His job was to manage the advanced systems that made the Indomitable so deadly. "Captain, nanite conversion of enemy vessels is complete. We now control 14 alien ships. Should we turn them against the remaining fleet?" Kim studied the tactical display. 9 Velkari vessels remained operational, including the flagship. The aliens were trying to retreat to a safe distance, but the Indomitable could catch them easily. "Not yet," Kim decided. "Let's give the Admiral one more chance to be reasonable." He opened a communication channel to the Velkari flagship. "Admiral." Thexval's face appeared on the screen. The alien commander looked older than he had an hour ago. His red eyes showed exhaustion and defeat. "Admiral," Kim said, "you've lost more than half your fleet. Your remaining ships are damaged and demoralized. Your crews are terrified. This can end now if you make the right choice." Thexval's 4 arms trembled with rage and fear. "What choice?" You've destroyed everything, my career, my fleet, my reputation. The Dominion will have me executed for this failure. Then don't make it a failure, Kim suggested. Make it a learning experience. What do you mean? Kim leaned forward in his command chair. Around him, his crew continued their work with quiet efficiency. The bridge was calm despite the battle raging outside. You came here to conquer a primitive species, Kim said. Instead, you discovered that humanity is anything but primitive. You can report that to your superiors. Tell them that humans are not prey. We're predators, and we've been watching your empire for a very long time. Watching us? How? Kim smiled, slightly. Admiral, how do you think we knew exactly what weapons to build to defeat your ships? How do you think we learned your language, your tactics, your weaknesses? We've had ships in your space for years. We've been studying you while... You thought you were studying us? The truth hit Thexval like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just built one advanced ship. They had been preparing for war against the Velkari Dominion for decades. They knew everything about their enemies while revealing nothing about themselves. It was all a trap, he breathed. The greatest trap in galactic history, Kim confirmed. And you walked right into it. Admiral Thexval's worst fears were becoming reality. The battle was lost. More than half his fleet was destroyed or under human control. The remaining ships were damaged and barely functional, but the humans weren't finished with their demonstration of power. Admiral, Captain Kim's voice came through the communication channel. You still don't understand what you're facing. Let me show you. The Indomitable began to change again. New sections of the hull opened up, revealing weapon systems the Velkari had never seen before. The ship's energy output increased dramatically, causing their sensors to overload with warnings. Communications. Specialist Dae-Young Shin worked at her station with focused intensity. She was a young woman with an incredible talent for electronic warfare. Her job was to turn the enemy's own technology against them. Captain, she reported, I've successfully penetrated their fleet network. All enemy ships are now connected to our systems. What? Admiral Thexval stared at his tactical officer in shock. How is that possible? Sir, they've somehow hacked into our secure communication channels. I'm showing unknown code throughout our computer systems. On every Velkari ship, the crew watched in horror as their own displays began showing human information. Their tactical screens showed the true positions of human vessels throughout the galaxy. Their communication systems broadcast human messages. Their navigation computers displayed star charts marked with human territories. The aliens were seeing the galaxy as humans saw it. And what they saw terrified them. Impossible, Thexval whispered. There are human ships everywhere. Da-Young had uploaded carefully prepared intelligence data to the Velkari systems. The information showed dozens of human vessels positioned throughout Velkari space, ships that had been watching, learning, and preparing for years. The Velkari had thought they were the dominant force in this region of space. Now they realized they had been surrounded without knowing it. Every move they made had been observed. Every weakness had been catalogued. Every strategy had been anticipated. Captain Kim, Thexval said desperately, what do you want from us? Right. Now, I want you to understand your situation completely. Kim turned to his science officer. Mr. Lim, show them the gravity weapon. Science Officer Jae-Sung Lim was the youngest member of the bridge crew, but he had a brilliant mind for theoretical physics. He had spent years developing weapons that could manipulate space and time itself. Activating spatial distortion field, he announced. Around the Velkari fleet, space itself began to twist and bend. Stars in the distance seemed to stretch and waver. The fabric of reality rippled like water disturbed by a stone. The alien ships found themselves trapped in pockets of distorted space-time. When they tried to engage their faster-than-light drives, nothing happened. The gravity weapon was preventing them from entering hyperspace. "We can't jump," reported the captain of the cruiser Devastation. "Something is interfering with our FTL. Systems!" "It's not interference," Kim explained to Admiral Thexval. "We're controlling the local space-time around your ships. You can't leave unless we allow it." Engineering teams led by Sungmin Oh had been making modifications to the captured Velkari vessels. The nanites had done more than convert their weapons. They had also integrated human technology into the alien ship's systems. "Captain," Sungmin reported, "all captured vessels are now operating under our control. Hull conversion is complete. The former enemy ships are now part of our fleet." The Velkari watched in amazement as their own vessels began to transform. Hull plating rearranged itself into new configurations. Weapon ports opened in different locations. The ship's energy signatures changed completely. Within minutes, the captured vessels looked more human than Velkari. They had been converted into hybrid ships that combined the best of both technologies, but they answered only to human commands. "Sir," Admiral Thexval's tactical officer said quietly, "we're outnumbered. The converted ships have more firepower than our remaining vessels." Thexval looked at his fleet status display. 9 ships remained under his command. 14 ships now served the humans, and the Indomitable itself was worth at least 10 regular warships. "You've lost," Kim said simply. "The question now is what happens next." "What are your terms?" Thexval asked. "No terms, no surrender, no conquest." Kim stood up from his command chair. "You're going to leave. You're going to take your remaining ships back to Velkari space, and you're going to deliver a message to your empire." "What message?" "That humanity is not your enemy unless you make us your enemy. We don't want your territory. We don't want your slaves. We don't want your empire. But we also won't allow you to threaten other species the way you've threatened us." Admiral Thexval was confused. In his experience, the winner of a battle always demanded something from the loser: territory, resources, tribute, slaves, but the humans seemed to want nothing except to be left alone. "I don't understand," he said. "You will?" Kim replied. "Admiral, how many species has your empire conquered?" 47 that have achieved space flight, hundreds more that never left their home worlds. And what happened to those species? Thexval was silent for a moment. "They serve the Dominion now. Those that survived the conquest." "How many died?" That's not relevant to..." "How many?" Kim's voice became cold and hard. "Billions," Thexval admitted quietly. "Billions across all the worlds." Kim nodded. "Admiral, you're going to return to your empire and tell them something. The age of easy conquest is over. Humanity is now watching, and we're not the only species preparing to defend ourselves." "What do you mean?" Communications specialist Da Young looked up from her station. "Captain, should I show him the Alliance communications?" "Yes." The main screen changed to show a star map of the local galaxy. Dozens of systems were highlighted in different colors. Each color represented a different species that had been contacted by human diplomats. "Every species your empire has marked for conquest," Kim explained, "has been warned about your intentions. We've shared our technology with those who can use it. We've provided weapons and training to those who need it. We've created an alliance of worlds that will no longer submit to Velkari expansion. The truth hit Admiral Thexval like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just prepared to defend themselves. They had organized resistance across dozens of worlds. They had turned potential victims into potential enemies. The next time your fleet tries to conquer a primitive world, Kim continued, they might find human weapons waiting for them, human ships defending the planet, human soldiers fighting alongside the locals. You're creating an empire of your own, Thexval accused. No, Kim shook his head. We're creating something your species has never seen before. A voluntary alliance of free worlds, species that choose to work together instead of conquering each other. On his bridge, Captain Kim looked around at his crew. They had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They had defeated a superior enemy force without becoming conquerors themselves. Admiral, he said finally, you have a choice to make. You can return to your empire and report that you found a weak species ready for conquest. Your leaders will send larger fleets, and more Velkari will die when they encounter our defenses. He paused, letting that sink in. Or you can report the truth. That humanity and its allies are ready for war. That the easy conquests are over. That your empire needs to find a new way to exist in a galaxy where not everyone will submit to your rule. Admiral Thexval stared at the tactical display showing his reduced fleet. Then he looked at the star map, showing the growing alliance of worlds that would resist future Velkari expansion. For the first time in his long career, he faced an enemy that was offering him a chance to avoid total destruction. An enemy that could have wiped out his entire fleet but chose to show mercy instead. An enemy that might be more dangerous than anything the Velkari Empire had ever encountered. The remaining Velkari ships hung in space like wounded animals. Admiral Thexval stared at his tactical displays, trying to understand what had happened to his invincible fleet. In less than 2 hours, the humans had destroyed or captured more than half his ships. The survivors were damaged and demoralized, but the humans weren't finished with their demonstration. Admiral, Captain Kim's voice came through the communication channel. You still don't understand the full scope of what you're facing. Let me show you why your empire should be very careful about its future choices. On the Indomitable, Science Officer Jae-Sung Lim activated systems that had never been used in actual combat before. He was a quiet man who preferred mathematics to warfare, but his inventions had revolutionized human military technology. Captain, he reported, space-time manipulation systems at full power, ready to demonstrate localized field effects. Proceed, Kim ordered. Around the Velkari fleet, space itself began to behave strangely. Stars that had been visible suddenly vanished from view. Others appeared where none had existed before. The aliens watched in growing terror as reality seemed to bend around them. "What's happening?" demanded the captain of the destroyer Vengeance. "They're controlling space-time itself," Admiral Thexval whispered. "This is beyond anything in our technology. The humans had developed weapons that could manipulate the fabric of the universe. They could create artificial gravity wells that trapped ships in normal space. They could bend light around their vessels to become invisible. They could even create small tears in space-time that allowed instant travel across vast distances." "Sir," Thexval's science officer reported with a trembling voice, "I'm reading massive gravitational anomalies throughout the area. The humans are creating localized distortions in space-time. If they wanted to, they could tear our ships apart by stretching space around us." The Admiral felt a chill run through his scaled skin. His empire had conquered worlds by having superior technology. But the humans had technology that was beyond the Velkari's understanding. They weren't just more advanced. They were operating on a completely different level. "Attention Velkari fleet," Captain Kim announced. "You are now witnessing what humans call a gravity cage. Your ships cannot move faster than light while you remain within the affected area. You cannot escape unless we allow it." The Velkari tried to activate their emergency jump drives. Nothing happened. They were trapped in normal space, unable to flee no matter how much power they fed to their engines. But Kim wasn't done with his demonstration. "Admiral Thexval," he said, "I want you to see something that will help you understand humanity's true capabilities." The view screen on the Velkari flagship changed to show a different part of space. At first, there seemed to be nothing there except stars and cosmic dust. Then the image shifted, and the aliens saw something that made their worst fears seem small. Dozens of human ships were spread throughout the area, not small vessels like the Indomitable, but massive warships that dwarfed even the largest Velkari, battleships. The fleet had been invisible, hidden by the same space-time manipulation technology that the Indomitable used. "Impossible," breathed Admiral Thexval. "Where did they come from?" "They've been here all along," Kim replied. "Watching, waiting, ready to intervene if needed." The human fleet was enormous. Over 100 ships of various sizes, all equipped with the same advanced technology that had destroyed the Velkari force. Each ship was positioned perfectly to prevent any escape from the system. "Captain," reported Navigation Officer Hai Wan Song, "Admiral Chen sends her compliments and asks if we need assistance." Kim smiled slightly. "Tell the Admiral that we have the situation well in hand, but thank her for standing by." Admiral Thexval realized that his 47th expansion fleet had walked into a trap that had been years in the making. The humans hadn't just prepared for this battle, they had prepared for a war. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long what, Admiral?" "How long have you been planning this?" Kim considered the question. "Officially, since we first detected your empire expanding in our direction 15 years ago. Unofficially, we've been preparing for something like this since we first reached the stars and realized we weren't alone." "You've been watching us for 15 years?" "Admiral, we've been inside your empire for 15 years. We've studied your technology, your tactics, your culture, your weaknesses. We know more about the Velkari Dominion than most of your own citizens do." The truth was devastating. The Velkari thought they were the hunters, but they had been the prey all along. Every move they made had been observed and analyzed. Every weakness had been cataloged. Every strategy had been anticipated. "Sir," the tactical officer on the Velkari flagship said quietly, "we're receiving new sensor data from the human fleet. Each of their ships is more powerful than our entire remaining force." Admiral Thexval looked at the readings and felt his hope die completely. The humans had over 100 ships in this system alone. Each one was more advanced than anything the Velkari had ever built. If they chose to attack, his fleet would be vaporized in minutes. "Captain Kim," he said, "what do you want from us?" "I want you to understand something very important," Kim replied. "What you've seen today is not the full extent of human military power. This is just a small demonstration. We have fleets like this in dozens of systems. We have weapons you haven't seen yet. We have allies you don't know about. But we also don't want to use them," he continued. "Admiral, humanity doesn't want to be an empire. We don't want to conquer worlds or enslave species. We want to explore the galaxy and learn from other cultures. But we will defend ourselves and our allies from anyone who threatens us." Admiral. Thexaval was beginning to understand. The humans weren't offering surrender terms or demanding tribute. They were offering a choice: coexistence or destruction. "What happens if I report this to my superiors?" he asked. "That depends on what you tell them," Kim said. "If you report that you found a weak species ready for conquest, they'll send more fleets. Those fleets will be destroyed just like yours was. Eventually, your empire will be forced to commit larger and larger forces to conquering humanity. Forces that will never return home." He paused, letting that sink in. "But if you report the truth, that humanity is an advanced species with powerful allies and defensive capabilities that exceed your own, then perhaps your leaders will choose a different path." What path? Trade instead of conquest. Diplomacy instead of war. Coexistence instead of domination. Admiral Thexval had spent his entire career serving an empire built on the idea that the strong should rule the weak. But the humans had shown him that strength could be used for protection instead of conquest. "And if my empire refuses?" Captain Kim's expression became serious. "Then your empire will discover that humans can be very creative when it comes to warfare. We'll turn every species you try to conquer into another enemy. We'll provide weapons and training to anyone who resists you. We'll make expansion so costly that your empire bleeds resources until it collapses. You would destroy us? No, Admiral. We would let you destroy yourselves. The age of easy conquest is over. From now on, every world you attack will be defended. Every fleet you send will face opposition. Every victory will cost you more than you gain." Admiral Thexval stared at the display showing the human fleet. Hundreds of ships that could appear anywhere in the galaxy. Weapons that could manipulate space and time. An alliance of species that would resist Valkyrie expansion. For the first time in his long career, he was facing an enemy that offered mercy instead of demanding surrender. An enemy that could destroy his entire empire but chose to offer coexistence instead. It was the most terrifying thing he had ever encountered. The space around Kepler 442 was quiet now, except for the soft hum of damaged Valkyrie ships and the steady broadcasting of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The battle was over. The demonstration was complete. Now came the most important part, the message. That would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Thexval sat in his command chair on the bridge of his damaged flagship. Around him, his crew worked to repair systems and tend to the wounded. But the physical damage to his ships was nothing compared to the damage to his understanding of the universe. "Admiral," Captain Kim's voice came through the communication channel, "are you ready to hear the message you'll be taking back to your empire?" Thexval looked at his tactical display one more time. 9 ships remained under his command out of the original 23. The human fleet of over 100 vessels surrounded them like silent guardians. The gravity cage still prevented any escape. "I'm listening," he said quietly. "The message is simple," Kim began. "The Valkyrie Dominion has a choice to make. You can continue trying to expand through conquest, and you will face resistance from humanity and our allies on every world you attack. Or you can choose a different path." "What path?" "Trade, diplomacy, peaceful contact with other species. The galaxy is large enough for everyone, Admiral. There's no need for conquest when cooperation can achieve so much more." Captain Kim stood up on his bridge and walked to the main view screen. Behind him, his crew continued their work with quiet efficiency. They had accomplished something unprecedented. They had defeated a superior enemy force without becoming conquerors themselves. "Admiral," Kim continued, Humanity has been watching your empire for 15 years. We know about the species you've conquered. We know about the worlds you've destroyed. We know about the billions who have died under Velkari rule. That is the price of order, Thexval replied, though his voice lacked conviction. No, Kim said firmly. That's the price of fear. Your empire conquers because it's afraid of being conquered. You enslave others because you're terrified of being enslaved. But there's another way. On the Indomitable, communications specialist Dae-Young Shin activated a special transmission system. Across the galaxy, the message was being broadcast to every human ship, every allied world, and every species that had signed the mutual defense agreements. The Velkari Empire has today encountered the consequences of aggression, the message began. They came to conquer and instead learned that the age of easy expansion is over. This message serves as notice to all species in the galaxy. Humanity and its allies will defend any world that asks for protection against conquest. Admiral D. Thexval listened to the broadcast with growing understanding. The humans weren't just sending a message to the Velkari, they were announcing to the entire galaxy that the rules had changed. But the message also extends an offer, the broadcast continued. Any species that chooses trade over conquest, diplomacy over war, and cooperation over domination will find humanity and its allies ready to engage in peaceful contact. The galaxy can be a place of wonder and discovery rather than fear and oppression. The transmission ended, but its implications were enormous. Every spacefaring species in the galaxy now knew that humanity existed and was willing to fight against aggressive expansion. More importantly, they knew that alternatives to conquest were possible. Admiral Thexval, Captain Kim said, you have a recording device in your flagship's computer systems. Everything that happened here today has been automatically documented. Your superiors will be able to review the entire encounter. They won't believe it, Thexval said. They'll have to. The evidence is undeniable. Science Officer Jae-Sung Lim looked up from his station. Captain, should I begin releasing the gravity cage? Kim nodded. Admiral, you're free to leave whenever you're ready. Your ships are no longer trapped. Around the Velkari fleet, space-time began to return to normal. The artificial gravity wells dissipated. The distortions in local space faded away. For the first time in hours, the alien ships could engage their faster-than-light drives. But Admiral Thexval didn't give the order to retreat immediately. He had questions that needed answers. Captain Kim, he said, if humanity is so powerful, why haven't you conquered the galaxy yourselves? Kim smiled slightly. Because conquest isn't our goal, Admiral. We want to explore, to learn, to discover new things about the universe. Ruling an empire would interfere with that. But you could do it. Yes, we could. But why would we want to? What's the point of controlling billions of beings who hate and fear you? What's the purpose of ruling worlds that only obey because they're forced to? The question hung in the air between them. Admiral Thexval had spent his entire career serving an empire built on force and fear. The idea of power without domination was almost incomprehensible to him. What about the species you've allied with? He asked. Do they serve you? They're partners, not servants, Kim explained. We share technology and knowledge. We provide defense when they need it. They offer the same to us. Everyone benefits. And if they refuse to help you, then they refuse. We don't force anyone to do anything. That's the difference between an alliance and an empire. Admiral Thexval was quiet for several minutes, processing what he had learned. His worldview had been shattered and rebuilt in the space of a few hours. Everything he thought he knew about Power and strength had been proven wrong. "Captain," he said finally, "what should I tell my superiors?" "Tell them the truth," Kim replied. "Tell them that humanity exists and is willing to defend itself and its allies. Tell them that conquest is no longer profitable because every world they attack will be prepared for them. Tell them that there's a better way to exist in the galaxy. And if they don't listen, then they'll learn the hard way. Admiral, we hope your empire will choose coexistence over conflict. But if you choose war, you'll discover that humans are very good at it." The communication channel closed. On his bridge, Captain Kim turned to his crew. "All stations, stand down from combat alert. Mr. Song, plot a course for Earth. It's time to go home." "What about the captured Velkari ships?" asked Commander Choi. "Transfer them to the Alliance fleet. They'll be useful for studying Velkari technology and training Allied crews." As the Indomitable prepared to depart, Admiral Thexavel made his decision. He opened a channel to his remaining ships. "All vessels, prepare for immediate departure. We're returning to Velkari space." "Sir," asked his second-in-command, "what will you report to High Command?" Admiral Thexval looked one more time at the human fleet surrounding them. Over 100 ships that had appeared from nowhere. Technology that could manipulate space and time. An enemy that had shown mercy when they could have shown annihilation. "I'll report that we encountered a species more advanced than anything we've seen before," he said. "A species that fights harder than anyone we've faced. And a species that offered us something we've never been offered before." "What?" "A choice." The Velkari ships engaged their faster-than-light drives and vanished into hyperspace, carrying their message back to an empire that was about to learn that the galaxy had changed forever. Behind them, the human fleet began to disperse, returning to their hidden positions throughout the galaxy. The Indomitable set course for Earth, its mission complete. Captain Hyunwoo Kim sat in his command chair and listened to Beethoven's symphony as it played softly through the ship's communication system. His crew had accomplished something unprecedented. They had fought a battle that might prevent a war. They had shown strength without becoming conquerors. They had offered an enemy the chance to become something better. Whether the Velkari Empire would take that chance remained to be seen. But the message was clear. The age of easy conquest was over. From now on, any species that chose aggression would face the combined might of humanity and its allies. The galaxy had new guardians, and they were watching.